beautiful people. Welcome to murder, mystery, true crime, all of those things that I always talk about. But we are going to get a defined name soon. And I know that I've been MIA. I have been MIA, but 1 second and let me have myself a sip of coffee, since this is now going to be something around crime, news, and coffee. This is one of my favorite cups I got from Target. And so, am I going to do wine and crime? Absolutely. I will be continuing wine and crime in another week or so, maybe 2 weeks at the latest, but at least another week. In December, just to kind of give you guys an update, in December, I took a hiatus. I needed a break. I think the first week of December was the last week I had of design clients. And if anyone don't know, I do web design and development as my full-time job. And I took the first week. I didn't take any clients after the first week of December. And I was kind of burnt out of true crime. You know, I was listening to a lot of podcasts, watching YouTube videos, doing my own thing. And so I decided that I needed a break. So during that break, I was invited to a Clubhouse. And if you don't know what Clubhouse is, it is a full-on audio app. And so I became completely addicted to Clubhouse, I guess it was around the Christmas break time, shortly after Christmas, that I was invited and started on the platform. But it was like a full vacation from me, from December, from Christmas, a little after Christmas to New Year's, before you got back into reality, where I was spending, like, if you looked at my iPhone and the amount of time that I was spending on it, it was like 14, 15, 16 hours. So that's how addicted I was of it. I probably still listen to it very similar to the same amount of time, maybe a little less. But I'm listening as I work, so I may not be actively participating in discussions, but I am listening. And so, I don't know, for those of you who don't know what Clubhouse is, it is an audio-based app that has just kind of brought together communities of people who wouldn't otherwise have met or been able to communicate in this way before. Now, you have all your other social medias, but those aren't really my thing. Even I also love, of course, YouTube, but it doesn't allow me to verbally get feedback from my followers or from people who are interested in the same things that I am. So for this, Clubhouse is hands down like the best. So during that time, I also applied for a club, and at the time, clubs were only option. You had to be approved for clubs, so you can only get one club, and you had to be approved. So it's weird. I mean, of course, I do web design, but the first club that I asked for was a true crime club, and so there was no other true crime clubs that was in Clubhouse at that time. And I started one, and I think I got it within maybe 2-3 weeks at the latest of me getting on the app. I started a True Crime Talks Club. And so in the True Crime Talks Club that I created, which I am so proud of, I created this to bring together a community. And so a community of people who want to share their voices about true crime. People who want to share their voices to tell stories, to promote their YouTube or podcast. So I opened this community for that, podcasters, YouTubers, people who want to try out. Maybe they want to start a YouTube and they want to, try out their storytelling abilities. I have audience of true crime fans and lovers and however you want to, whatever you want to call yourself, but they get an opportunity to come up and ask questions to their hosts and to the speakers that may be there. And so there's two things that are happening that is going to be new. One, I will be coming into YouTube weekly doing a news show to kind of give updates of what's been happening in the true crime club, to try to give some news because in Clubhouse I will be also talking, eventually starting a daily news show inside of Clubhouse under the True Crime Talks Club. So with that said, I invite you, if you are a podcaster, a YouTuber, an author, anyone who wants to tell stories, wants to get exposure, I think being a part of the True Crime Talks community and club is a great opportunity for you to bring awareness to your podcast and your YouTube channel. It's a good way for you to grow some new followers and fans. It is a great way for you to communicate with your customers, the people who watch you or listen to you, who read your books. It's just for that. And so for that, I invite you in. As someone who don't want to host a show in the club, and you just want to listen to the stories and ask questions and interact with the host, I invite you to do that also. Become a member of the club because we would love to have you. Truly, we're building a community. It's not just here's one podcast that has a club, or here's one YouTube channel that has this club and Clubhouse. It is a community, a family of multiple. I have right now, and it has gone up and down over time. Right now, I have 11 hosts that do shows in the club from Monday to Sunday. And so you definitely are invited to do that also. And just to give you some of the news starting today of the things that have been happening in the club, and it's not going to be things that just happened last week. It will kind of give an overview of some of the great things that happened, not from the very beginning, but just for a couple of weeks. So I host a pop-up show that comes on like maybe every other Wednesday or whenever, I may have a host or a YouTuber or podcaster who just don't want to commit to a weekly show but want to pop in and talk. I do a pop-up on Wednesdays. And so it was amazing to have John Crime and Stephanie Harlow on the exact same stage inside of the True Crime Talks Club. And we were talking about the George Stinney case, where true crime fans got an opportunity to come up and ask questions and interact with Stephanie and John. Now, I will say that John was the first host. When I first opened the club, he was the first host on my show. And so in the club. And so for that, I am forever thankful to him. I have Sylvie, who hosts, I believe it's on Tuesdays at 2:30. She hosts a Curious Case of show. So she did the Curious Case of Abducted in Plain Sight, where she had one of the producers of the show, Emily Kincaid, that popped in and gave her feedback, made the story, when we watched that documentary, I believe it was on Netflix, you had all sorts of thoughts of these people, like how dare they, how could they, who would do X, Y, and Z. But when you got an opportunity to hear it from someone who sat with the family, she really humanized them and made you look at things from their eyes, which also gave me a total view. It was hard at times to have a total different view, but it softened my stance that I had with them prior to meeting her and hearing her story about the family and her interaction. It really softened my stand because I was one of those like, oh no they didn't type of people. Sylvie also had she did the Curious Case of Natalie Holloway, and she brought in a journalist and author, Vincent Verwig. I may not be pronouncing his name quite right, but he is the author of the Holloway Files, where he gathered the files from the police files. And so he had a very nice viewpoint, and we kind of went back and forth. It was that was a really great show, because from his point of view, that he did not think that he was not 100% convinced that Joanne was the murderer of Natalee Holloway. And I was on the fence because during that discussion, it was my first time hearing about there was a rapist around that time, and I haven't had a chance to go back and research and look at it, but it brought in some additional evidence that we was not aware of, or that I was not aware of. So that was also nice. We have another show with Jamie and Jake of Strictly Stalking Podcast, and they are awesome. They're fun. They have wonderful banter between each other. And they had Diane Neal from SUV and Law and Order. And she discussed being stalked by not a stranger, but someone who was a boyfriend. And it really reminded me about how many cases are so similar when it comes to these stalking cases. And the Strictly Stalking with Jake and Jamie, it usually comes on Tuesdays, every other Tuesday at 8 p. I think it's 9. I don't know. Just look at the club, join Clubhouse, and you'll see when they come on. This week, I will be hosting a show with John Bozak. He went from being a homeless teen to earning millions in cyber crimes and credit card scams. And so I can't wait to speak with him and do his show. It's going to be interesting. I'm hosting, he's discussing, he's really the host. He just don't know it yet. I'm just there facilitating. He's really the host. It's really his show. And I'm just there to help him along. But it's going to be interesting to see how the audience reacts to this, because it could hit very close to home. It could be triggers, but what's wonderful about this is that they get the opportunity, because this is Clubhouse, the opportunity to come up and ask their questions. How can I protect myself from the type of crimes that you did? Did you have to pay all of that money back? And how was your childhood? Just to be able to ask him all of the questions, you know. So I'm really excited and happy that he is open to taking questions from the club, because one thing that you may or may not know in Clubhouse, depending on what rooms you go in, you know, sometimes there's rooms where they don't take audience questions. They sit, and the experts or the host, they sit and talk among themselves. But I am very pleased that he is open to doing that. So. And like I said, I have a multiple hosts in the club, and I just highlighted maybe 3 or 4 of them just now. And over time, I will be promoting all of my hosts, because I'm very proud of what they do. They all do something different. They all have different styles, even the ones who may have similar styles. I love them all. And I'm really glad that they chose to be in the True Crime Talks Club, because I always tell them, they'd be like, oh, Donielle, this is your club. And I'm like, no, this is all of our club. This is a community. This is a community we're building. So for one, I will be in the future, hopefully, I think it may be 2 weeks. I'm trying to just get everything kind of coordinated and together. I will be hosting a short segment of true crime news in the Clubhouse. Daily. Yes, daily. And it will be going over current events that are happening, that happened that day or in the day, or, you know, that week or whatever. It will be giving updates to cases. It will be bringing awareness to causes. It will be putting old cases that may not have been solved back into the forefront of our thoughts. And so that is what the daily news show is going to be doing, and I welcome you to help me with names. I'm struggling with that in a little bit. I have a few that I'm interested in, but I would love your feedback. Two, I will be doing a weekly true crime talks news here, kind of telling you the things that's going on in the club, and things that will affect the club that's happening kind of outside of the club. Like, you know, Clubhouse has this thing with bots and shadow banning and all of these things that are happening where, you know, the rooms aren't as many people in the rooms as it was before. Clubhouse opened it up where multiple people can have more clubs. So now I'm not the only club. I am the biggest club, but I'm not the only club. And so that has happened. And, you know, you saw some of the rooms get smaller. And so those type of things that I will be talking about weekly on YouTube. And I will be coming back with my wine and crime shows where I tell my own stories about things that interest me and shows and people and houses. The same real estate, houses value, people who died at home, same process. And that's it from now. That's my update. I know it's been a minute, but I love that you are here with me and stick with me. And if you need advice, hit up a girl in the comments, because I have invites and I can personally invite you to the club. There is one caveat that you must have an iPhone or an iPad. So if you have those and you love all things true crime, then please join. If you have a true crime podcaster or YouTuber and you think they should be in the club, invite them. Tell them about the club. Invite them. Tell them to reach out to me, because I am always looking for new hosts to host in the club. So thank you and have a wonderful, I guess it's morning for you. I have my coffee. So have a wonderful morning.